everyone. Welcome to another episode of Cycling Culture Club Connections, the podcast where we explore the stories and diverse backgrounds of a huge range of diverse individuals from within cycling. We are really dedicated to trying to tell those stories that you don't see elsewhere. You won't see it in your typical cycling media title. They're not always shared on social media. We really want to be the place for that. So the Connections podcast, I hope, is some small part of that. Today we sit down with another brilliant guest. So Makesi is the founder of Dad Bod Cycling. He's a New Yorker, born in Trinidad and Tobago, but moved to New York 30 years ago. And the work he does on the ground in Brooklyn to get people into cycling, particularly looking at young people, is astounding, to be honest. He's donating bikes, he's hosting rides, he's connecting people. And now he's even hosting his own tour that people can book into to really understand the cycling culture in New York and the landscape and what it's like to actually ride through those iconic streets. So our conversation was quite multi-layered, actually. Makesi's got great vision, great energy, really positive spin on everything. And there's a lot of wisdom that comes through here. So I think you're really going to enjoy this one. And without further ado, we'll jump in with Makesi. Good to see you all. Thanks again. Yo, Makesi, how are you?
I'm good, Miles. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good. We were just saying off camera, but it's been a long time coming, this one.
Definitely.
Yeah, let's do it. So, Makesi, where are you coming from? Just for our audience, where are you dialing in today?
I am from Brooklyn, New York, man. Not born, but raised in Brooklyn.
Okay. And you were just telling me about a huge snowstorm that flew in overnight, right?
It was crazy. It was about 10 inches of snow, and you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. So we're just like recovering from that and trying to get through the last day before Christmas.
Yeah. So for those of you listening in, we're recording this on Christmas Eve. I've managed to lock Makesi on December 24th, which was quite cruel of me, really. But whenever you're listening to this, yeah, we're right on the eve of Christmas. So yeah, Makesi, thanks so much for your time. I'm hopeful that some of our audience will already know you, know who you are, know what you're involved in. But let's assume not for a second and maybe take it right back and tell me a bit about your journey into cycling first, but then I'm sure you'll take us through how you've landed where you are at Dad Bod Cycling and everything that entails.
So I'm Makesi Duncan. I am, I guess the owner and CEO of Dad Bod Cycling. How I got into cycling was pretty much the year after the pandemic. It's just like I saw everyone all of a sudden on bikes. Everywhere I drove, everyone was bikes. Instagram, it turned into my For You page was all bikes. So I just texted my older brother like, hey, let's buy bikes. Maybe about 2 months later, we were at the bike shop and we both had our starter bikes. I jumped all the way in. I got the kit, I got the helmet. I was clipped in immediately and took my first ride, which was like 8 miles. Died. It was tough, but I was hooked after that, and it's been a positive addiction since then.
Positive addiction, that's a nice way of putting it. I like to tell myself that every day. Every time I spend a bit more money or a bit more time, I'm like, positive addiction. Nice. Okay, so I guess part of the newer breed of cyclists who joined us in the last 3 or 4 years since the pandemic, I'm sort of interested actually, because I've been a cyclist for a bit longer than that, probably more like 10 or 15 years. What's your experience been like entering into the cycling culture with this wave of interest and off the back of what was a global event?
It's interesting. It's so much to learn about cycling. Cycling is just a completely different world, a completely different sport. I grew up playing football and basketball, which is all you need is yourself and a ball and a few friends. Now you need all this equipment. You need like kit, you need the helmet, you need the bike itself. And it's just like, if you don't do those things properly, you're looked at a little different in some ways if you're not aware of it. Like, you got the white helmet, but you got black socks on. That's a thing. You got your socks over your long bib. That's a thing. So there's so many little nuances that you don't know being new to the sport that you just either learn and accept, or you make your own way and you're yourself.
Yeah. And where would you put yourself in that? Did you make your own way and be yourself, or did you find yourself getting swept up in, I guess, the minutiae detail of cycling culture?
I did what I was comfortable with. I don't, as a person, I don't really care what other people think. So I took that into cycling. So whatever I was comfortable with, whatever looked good to me is what I stuck with.
Nice. This feels like the way to be in this world, yeah. Right? You can't always follow what other people are doing. And I think cycling has a bit of an issue with that, right? The people like me can be dreadful at perpetuating this idea that you have to be this sort of perfect, caricature of a cyclist, whereas actually I think there's so much opportunity for people to get into this sport just as they are.
Yeah, and I don't feel fit the mold as a cyclist at all. I'm 5'11", I'm 200 and maybe 30 pounds. I'm built like an American football player. So seeing me on a bike has never been the norm from the second I started this. From that and approaching it from that angle, I feel like I just had to make my own way and do what was right for me rather than just trying to be accepted by all the norms that I learned in cycling.
Yeah, totally. I think we'll probably touch on the genesis of where you are now with Dad Bod Cycling, but I'm interested in your journey. That you sort of alluded to the fact that you came into this world that where you didn't feel necessarily a typical athlete in the space. What was that like for you? Did you find it easy to sort of exist in this space, or did you have to be more deliberate about how you treated yourself and the stuff that you got involved in?
I wouldn't say it was easy. Like I had a few instances here and there with guys making comments of you look like you would be better off on a football field, or you're too big for that bike, or that climb is going to kill you. So little things here and there, but I have like such a competitive nature that hearing those things made me want to prove people wrong more than anything else. I know people could hear that and then they just like want to quit or they want to fade into the background. It was the exact opposite of me. I wanted to show that I can do this no matter what you say or think. So I think leaning into that has taken me in the direction that I've gone in, and it's been positive so far.
That's amazing. I think a lot of people and listeners will resonate with that idea of pushing through and finding something magical on the other side. So you probably know, but for the avoidance of doubt, this podcast and this community is all about championing diversity in cycling in its many, many forms. And I think some of the most interesting stories are those where there's intersectional details. And for you, you don't mind me saying, you're a black man, you've already self-confessed not a typical cycling mold, and from where I'm sat, from what I know of you, which is not loads, you managed to carve yourself out a huge space and a huge voice in this world, which is not only fascinating but is really, really amazing to see. So I guess let's dive in straight in there. So talk to me about, and talk to the audience about, Dad Bod Cycling.
So Dad Bod Cycling pretty much started as just me thinking, again, I'm not the typical mold for this sport. I'm a big black dude that you would more likely see playing another sport. It actually started with my frustration with kit and the way kit fit me. It wasn't built for me. It wasn't built for people with broad shoulders or a belly or arms. The transition of how it truly started was me just actually voicing my frustration with that. Just one random day of trying to put on a kit, and I'm just like, this thing is cutting off the circulation to my arms. And just saying, hey, cycling brands, can we do something about this? Can a 2XL actually be a 2XL? Because this is a 3XL and I can barely fit in it. And I guess people pretty much just resonated with that. People that saw me, people that look like me, whether it be my size, my race, they resonated and they just related. But also on the flip side of that, there were people that were like, maybe this just isn't for you, or maybe you should lose weight. So it's like, which side were you going to listen to? Were you going to accept that there are people going through this like you are? Or were you going to listen to the trolls and just give it up? And I leaned into, there are people going through the same thing. If my voice and my opinions are being valued, let's just lean into that and keep sharing.
Amazing. I mean, I think credit to you to not only go through it yourself, but to bring others along on that journey, I think is fascinating. So, I think from what I know, Dad Bod Cycling is a not-for-profit, but let's assume the audience know nothing about what you do. Can we dig in? Can we see what you've been up to, what's coming up, that sort of thing?
So it's a 501c3, which is a nonprofit. My goal is to donate bikes within my community, Brooklyn. Not only Brooklyn, but New York City. I realize that having this voice and having this ability to reach so many people can be translated to using it to help my community and using it to help people who are less fortunate in many ways. Having a bike in a Brooklyn apartment isn't something I had the ability to do growing up. I know my mom couldn't afford that, so that turned into my passion is, okay, I have this voice. somehow now getting these sponsorships, and somehow now sponsored by Cycling Clothing, sponsored by Specialized, sponsored by this, sponsored by that. Let's use this to do some good and to bring some color into cycling from my home, because there's so much talent within my community and it's never used with cycling because it's such a expensive sport to get into. So by seeing that talent and saying, hey, let's move this towards cycling, something that I know I never had. I didn't know cycling was a sport growing up in Brooklyn at all. It's basketball or football. That's it. So if I can present this new world to them by having this exposure, that's my main goal with Dad Bod Cycling.
Okay. And you mentioned about bike donations in Brooklyn. Is that something that your partners help with? Or are you collecting bikes from other places and redistributing them? What's the deal?
So it's grant writing, it's creating relationships, it's using that exposure to be like, hey, do you know this person, that person? Does anyone know this guy handing out bikes? So one of them is the SRAM Community Program. I get funding from them in order to purchase bikes, in order to pay for permits. I have a partnership with a local health insurance company who set up the tents. They do the entertainment for my bike giveaway in October. Priority Bicycles in New York City, they come through in the clutch all the time. I think last year they donated 15 bikes. This year they donated 10 discounted bikes from Specialized. So it's just using these connections in these ways and shooting your shot. The worst thing a company can say is no. I feel like people are so afraid of hearing no that they just don't ask. I no longer have that fear. I will ask for the world, shoot for the stars, land on the moon when it comes to like getting stuff for the bike giveaway. And it's working so far.
I mean, every video I watch of you and your activity, for those of you who don't know, Makesi is prolific on Instagram, and every video I watch is uplifting and inspiring because you are achieving so much. That concept of just not taking no for an answer isn't just benefiting you and your personal sponsorships, of which you have some great ones, but it seems to also be benefiting your community, which is awesome. So I guess credit where credit's due. You've done an incredible job of bringing these brands along on this journey, and I'm sort of I'm interested to just sat where I'm sat thinking about my own journey of Cycling Culture Club and thinking about how you bring brands along on the journey. But have you got any anecdotes or stories of those early brand partnerships that came on board, whether it's Heavy Pedal or Specialized or whatever, what was that initial conversation like? What was that pitch like?
So honestly, there was no pitch from me. It was pretty much the stuff I was putting out. So from the video I mentioned earlier about frustration with Cycling Kit, someone tagged Heavy Pedal. Heavy Pedal responded to the tag, and then Heavy Pedal got into my DMs like, hey, I'd like to send you a kit. They sent me a kit. It fit amazingly. I was comfortable, and I was like, this is the first time I've felt like this in cycling gear. And within that first 2 years, I feel like I've tried every brand, and I didn't feel like I did within Heavy Pedal. So when people ask me like, hey, why do you stick with Heavy Pedal? One, they supported me when I was frustrated and couldn't find something that fits. And two, I'm comfortable with it. That's the Heavy Pedal story. So that's the first partnership I've had, and that's the one I've just stuck with straight through. With Specialized, I did my first gravel event on a borrowed bike, and I was just hooked on gravel after that. But I knew like, all right, you're going to need your own gravel bike. And again, a random DM, someone that worked with Specialized, his name is Tony. He's like, hey, I know you're searching for a bike sponsor. How would you feel about being with Specialized? And that's like, what? Hell yeah. What do you mean? Yes. So maybe about a month and a half later, I was meeting with Specialized, and they were like, hey, we see what you're doing, appreciate your journey, and we would like to work with you. I just feel like it's better to be lucky than good at times, because a lot of these things just came to me by either just luck or putting out the positivity, and most importantly, doing good. People seeing me saying, hey, I'm trying to donate bikes to kids. That's a journey that many people want to do, but they don't really just put in the actual effort to do it. So I think putting out that positivity is how I've gotten the sponsorships that I have.
That's super cool. I mean, I was going to say, when you said about luck, I was like, it doesn't sound like luck to me. It sounds like manifestation.
That too.
You're putting good out in the world. People see that and they see that that obviously has built you a profile, but it's not just a profile built on metrics and social media and all that sort of nonsense. It's actually on action, on actual change that you're making in your local neighborhood. So that's incredible. You should be if you're not already, you should be very proud of everything you've achieved so far.
Definitely, man. It's sometimes I have to sit back and just look at it and truly try to accept what I've done and what I'm doing and accept the reality of it, because it's hard to realize and appreciate in the moment. You don't really see what you're doing while you're doing it, or just hearing someone tell you, "Hey, that was amazing. I'm proud of you." I realize that means a lot to me.
Definitely. You got a couple of kids, right?
I've got 3 girls, man. 8, 6, and 2.
It's a lot. Yeah, you're a busy man. But I'd imagine you're channeling some of that pride and passing that down to your girls as well.
Yeah, they pretty much see everything I'm doing. They didn't truly understand it at first, but now like they've been able to go to the bike giveaways. I've do like local coffee rides. They've been able to come to the coffee ride and see all these people gathered and ask like, "Hey, why are these people taking pictures with you? Why are there 30 people on bikes here?" Just to let them truly see that I'm not just playing bikes has been really beneficial to them understanding why I do it.
Good. And whether it goes that way or not, as well as the work you're doing in your community, you're raising 3 girls with a bike adjacent lifestyle, and hopefully, I tell you what, this is one thing the sport needs is more black girls.
I definitely agree. The coffee ride they came to, I had like Aisha McGowan there, and it was like, cool. This is like her. This could be you. And it was so cool to just have them see that, have them see so many black women on bikes at the actual event. They have their own bikes, they ride, so they know it's pretty fun.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how that continues to develop. And as a dad and as I guess an advocate as well, you're having a real direct impact in both personal and professional realms, which is, it's really, really cool. I'm interested because I have this idea of what riding in New York City's like. And I'd say at the start of this year, it wasn't terribly positive. I had a warped view of what I'd imagine riding in the city was like, based on like fixed gear culture and, rad and gnarly YouTube videos over the years. But I had a chat with Gil Lavy of Rubber Road, and he gave me so much more insight into the nuances and the complexity of the New York cycling scene through his perspective, as a gay man, a gay immigrant. That was a really interesting angle. But I'm interested from your side, in your position where you are, what you're doing in your local community. What's your impression of the culture, the riding culture in New York City, and what do you love, what do you hate?
The riding culture in New York City I think it's unmatched, man. And that's why I'm doing my own tour of New York City. Like, I'm trying to bring people to New York to experience that. Because when one, the routes, the groups to ride with, the people to be around, and the safety aspect of New York, it's nothing like it. Like, you're riding across the Brooklyn Bridge, you're staring at the Freedom Tower, previously the World Trade Center, and you're just like, this is an iconic city that you've seen in movies all your life. So being able to, one, navigate through the city safely, but with a good group of people, it makes it a truly unforgettable experience. That being said, the cycling groups are welcoming. People are, I guess, so excited to welcome you into cycling. You can go to Central Park and you can catch a group ride. You can go to Prospect Park and you can get laps. You can head up the West Side and go straight into Jersey. And now you're just like in a different world where it's no cars, it's no city life. You're on the side of the highway, heading up, climbing, doing all these things you see everywhere else, but you're still an hour away from New York City. So I feel like you get a bad rap because you see the guys like weaving through traffic, full speed with the GoPro, and they're getting this close to a bus and they're breaking lights, and that's not a real thing, man. We all have work tomorrow. People aren't doing that. They're probably doing it for clout, the guys you see, but that's not the reality of New York cycling. New York cycling, we look out for each other, we stay in the group. It's like cycling everywhere else. It's just you're in New York. So you can pick and choose how you want to approach it. There are the guys doing that stuff to get the views, and then there are the people that are truly here to just get miles. And it's easy to find the ones that are just trying to get miles.
I love that. I think that different perspective and that viewpoint and from being in and around the cycling culture is exactly what people need to hear and see, because we have this in London, right? So I'm from London. What we project outwardly from London is not always the reality of what's going on in London. How do I know that? Because I'm connected with loads of people around the world who have a different perspective of what riding in London's like. We know the reality. I don't live in London now, so when I travel back in fairly regularly, I'm reminded of the great things about it. So things like community and connection and proximity, and the awful things about it, like traffic lights and traffic and all those sorts of things. But luckily, I have the choice to pick and choose. But I think every city has that nuance, right? And I don't think there's any better way to get that nuance than from the horse's mouth, someone who's lived and breathed it for, I suppose it's decades by this point, is it?
30 plus years I've lived in New York. I immigrated from Trinidad when I was 9. I'm 37 now. So it's pretty much my entire life. I've lived in New York, the center of Brooklyn. So seeing it from both the non-cycling, I drive, seeing it from the driver's perspective, seeing it from the cycling perspective, and just understanding the culture, which can change from each borough that you go into. But there's an ingrained cycling culture within the city of everyone looks out for everyone.
Would you say there's any particular parts of the city or boroughs or neighborhoods that are more pro cycling or better for cycling, just for the nuance of it?
I'm gonna say Brooklyn, of course. Like, Brooklyn to me is home. I know the back streets, I know the way around everything, but it's also, you can go from crowded Brooklyn to you're riding next to the beach within 10 miles. So there's so many different, again, subtle nuances that if you know your home city, you can find the peace of cycling no matter what. So you can spend maybe 5 miles within those stoplights, but hey, you cross this bridge here and you're next to the water. You're in a park that has a gravel loop you can do. Just knowing those little subtle nuances, to me, I say Brooklyn. Manhattan has the iconic scenery, and it has the West Side Highway where you can go from Lower Manhattan all the way into Jersey on a bike path, undisturbed, no cars. So just knowing where to go and how to do it, it makes it unbeatable. You're not going to ride through Times Square as an everyday New York cyclist. I couldn't tell you the last time I've done that. It's unnecessary. But you're going to go in the Prospect Park. You're going to go in the Central Park because, again, it's iconic. You ride Central Park and Zwift, you're going to want to do it in real life. That's just how it is.
You're right. Okay. That's really useful. I think this is probably a good time to give you a platform to plug your, saw just before this call, but you plug your trip. You're trying to organize, bike tours in NYC. Tell us a bit more about it. Where can we find out about it? I'm interested. I've never been to New York. My wife says I should go for the food alone, but I'm thinking if I go for food and for riding, then it's even more of an excuse. So yeah, tell me about it.
So I saw an open spot. There are so many cycling tours in Spain, so many places around the world. But again, people consider New York this iconic place, and they're afraid to cycle in New York because of the horror stories. So as a New Yorker, I felt like, why don't I just do something for myself? Which, again, is something I realized within the business of cycling, is you can work for and with brands, but that can only go so far. So owning and doing your own thing is the best way to truly ingrain yourself and grow within cycling, is by owning and starting your own thing. So that's where the DBC NYC tour came from. It's like, I want to own and do my own thing. I want to be able to grow this into something amazing. So I figured, why not? I was able to partner with the 5-borough bike tour to just compile that into one weekend where you arrive Thursday, you get to meet everyone. On Friday, you get to do like the scenic ride. You get to see like the Central Park. You get to see the Prospect Park, the new things that are in Zwift. You get to do that in real life. Saturday, you get to go up the West Side or go to Jersey and ride the bridges. And then Sunday, I'm going to treat that as a recovery ride where you get to do the 5-borough bike tour. You get to ride through each borough, open streets, no cars. And that's how you're going to get that New York experience. With a New Yorker who says like, hey, we're not going to do that spot. Let's go to this food spot. This is the best coffee you're going to find in the city. this is the best bagel you're gonna find in the city. Just knowing those little things by riding with the New Yorker, I feel like will change the impression of riding in New York. So it's that why not me mentality. And the worst thing that can happen is no one comes. But I have this, I guess, unrealistic belief in myself that it's gonna go great. It's gonna be amazing.
Don't know if that's unrealistic. I think you have some proven track record of making shit happen, right?
Yeah, man. It's if you keep doing it and doing it, something's working.
Well, we'll take it offline, but I will. But if I can help in any way, get it in front of our audience, then I'd love to support in some way and make it a success. Help make it a success.
Cool. Thank you, man. The way to find it, it's on the link in my bio.
Happy days. You mentioned about touring the 5 boroughs, empty streets, no cars. How's that work then?
They shut it down. It's called the TD 5 Borough Bike Tour, and they shut down the entire city. So it's like the New York Marathon, just for bikes. So they've closed all the streets. You literally start in Lower Manhattan. You go up through Central Park, through the Bronx, back down through Queens, Brooklyn, and you end in Staten Island.
That's very cool. Very cool. Do you have anything like that here?
Well, Ride London. I feel like Ride London would be like the closest comparison, but everything is shut down. Every route for this ride is shut down.
Ride London is sort of similar, but it feels more like Mammal Sportive. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel that inclusive. In recent years, the route's not as great. But you do get that closed road experience. But I'm interested because basically Londoners hate Ride London. You know, there's every year there's demonstrations and tax on the road and stuff like that. But what are what's New Yorkers' perception towards the 5 borough tour?
So that's not the case. Honestly, New Yorkers, when you know stuff like that, like me, I know the marathon is happening. I'm not going outside. I'm not driving anywhere. That's just how we treat it. But with the 5 borough bike tour, there's like people on the side cheering you on, people hanging outside of buildings cheering you on. Now that I think about it, like all the neighborhoods you ride to, there are people literally lined up on the sidewalks, clapping, ringing bells. Like people truly support it. I haven't had a negative experience doing it, and I've done it maybe 2 or 3 times before. And I guess that's the random impression of New Yorkers, is that we're rude and we're mean, but no, that's not the case at all. Like you're riding through these local neighborhoods and there are kids, parents, elderly folks. Everyone's just like clapping and celebrating you for doing this, because people can't imagine riding 40 miles through all 5 boroughs. Like it's not something that the quote unquote non-cyclists would even think to do. So it's pretty supportive, honestly.
That's great. It's really good to hear. And we could definitely learn a thing or two over here in the UK. We do have one example, probably not exactly the same, but maybe you've heard of Black Unity bike ride?
Yep, I have.
Yeah. So Tokes came on this podcast and talked about Black Unity early days, like early this year, I suppose. And that always has a very community supportive feel. You know, there's people on the side of the road, they're cheering, there's music, there's food. That feels like a vibe that we can support and nurture, and the community has sort of really come on board to do the same.
Definitely.
So no, I'm going to check out 5 boroughs because that sounds like a great event.
It's pretty cool, man. If you do it the right way, it's definitely cool. So like you've got to get in wave 1, which is one of the things I have is like the package for traveling is like you're in wave 1, which means there's no one in front of you. So it's just open road. And the way I challenged myself last year is like, I'm going to do this as quickly as possible. And it's just so much fun. If you're a New Yorker and you drive these roads all the time, or you're like on the side of the road all the time, but to do it with no cars, it's cool, man.
Very cool. So I guess from road to off-road, I guess one of our first interactions was you wrote that cool piece about your struggles at SBT. I'm interested in reliving that with you if it's not too painful.
Oh man, this was the second one. That one was rough. So I've done SBT 3 times. The first time was a horror story. This is my first time ever riding gravel. I'm on a borrowed bike. My batteries died, so I was like pretty much on a fixie for maybe 20 to 30 miles in Colorado, which is just all climbing. I crashed, but I finished. Okay, mission accomplished. I decided to go back and do it again because doing all that and telling the story of all that pretty much propelled me in so many ways, with brands, with following, with so many things. So I'm like, I have to go back. Now I have my own gravel bike. I have this experience under my belt. I'm gonna kill this. I go back. I'm doing it, no crash. I'm on my own bike, but I get altitude sickness. I am at mile 60 and I see like the SRAM tent, and then my vision goes like blurry and black. And I'm just like, okay, time to stop. And from that moment till the picture of me laying on the floor taking oxygen, it's just all a blur. And that was like, again, I say cycling will humble you. That was the most humbling experience because I've got this DBC jersey on. There's no hiding. I'm in the middle of like the actual finish line and I'm laying on the floor with ice on my chest and I'm taking oxygen and it's just like, oh, okay, this is embarrassing.
You
But
picked yourself up though, didn't you?
yeah, I couldn't let it be the last thought of that event. It's me. That stuck in my head. You were laying on the floor with oxygen and you're supposed to be this hope, this great motivation for cycling, this great motivation for bigger cyclists, for black cyclists, but you're sitting here damn near on your deathbed. So this year I went back and it was just like finish, no crashing, no sickness, get it done. And that was it. And I was like, I'm not going back. Three times the charm. The first two were horrific. The last one was smooth. We're good to go on that. Never again. But the gravel space as a black cyclist is just such a completely different world. It's like you feel like all eyes are on you. And it's not necessarily in a negative way, but it's like, hey, what are you doing here? This isn't really normally your thing. You guys like staying fresh and clean, not covered in mud and dirt. But it's been a cool experience so far.
That's interesting. You said not necessarily in a negative way, but that sort of look you get from others, that I can only speak from personal experience, but that look you get when you makes you feel like you're not meant to be there, that feels overtly negative to me. Do you not see it that way?
I also have to preface it by saying it comes with a different set of eyes when I have this on and people are like, hey, I know you from here. So I have to take that into perspective when it's like, maybe these people are treating me positively because they've seen me, they know who I am, they know I'm not necessarily a quote unquote threat. But take that from a spot of someone that doesn't know who you are and they're giving you this look of, what are you doing here? I try to look at things in a positive way because I've never had a negative experience. So if I don't want people judging me preemptively, I shouldn't judge them preemptively. And that's pretty much how I've just been approaching it so far. And thankfully, in the gravel world, I've never had a negative experience. I've had more negative experiences in the road cycling scene than the gravel, which is strange to me from what people say.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for clarifying. That's really good actually, and really useful for people as well. That idea of not preemptive judgment, and a bit like I suppose what I'm doing, and what others do, is you can put words in people's mouths and minds before they've even said anything.
Mm-hmm.
But preempt a fight when there's no fight to be had. Sometimes that's half the battle, and part of the battle is that by our very nature as people of colour or other underrepresented characteristics, we are a minority in that group, so you can take looks to mean one thing or another when they may mean nothing at all. So yeah, it's really, really wise, actually, really good wisdom from you. But yeah, I guess my impression of the gravel space is, I don't know about now, but certainly historically, it always feels like it's been more welcoming, more accessible for people, more opportunity for a person, no matter who you are, where you're from, what you ride, blah, blah, blah. I don't know how that's changing as it becomes more mainstream and more popular and faster and, and there's more money in it and all that sort of stuff. But I like to think it'll always be a welcoming space. I guess my question to you there is, from a US perspective, I guess I've always held US gravel as like the pinnacle of the spirit of gravel, that idea of welcoming community and bringing people along. Is that still accurate these days? I've never raced gravel in the US, I should say.
I think so, because again, as a black man, the locations of some of these gravel rides are places you'd never think to go as a kid from Brooklyn. You'd never think to go to Stillwater, Oklahoma for Mid-South. That's never been on my bucket list to go to Oklahoma. But it's like that was an amazing experience. I had a great time. Everyone was nice. You disarm me personally. I disarm people with a smile. If I see someone looking at me and I make eye contact, I'm going to smile at you. And that's just like the invitation some people need because they're so curious of what your story is rather than a scowl. So if I look up and you're looking at me and I smile, hello, it's just such a floodgates opener for conversation. So the spirit of gravel to me has been a real thing because of these random places I've gone to do gravel. Like I've gone to the furthest end of Pennsylvania. I've gone to Vermont where again, some of these places I'm the only black cyclist, or I see maybe one more and I make eye contact with him and it's like, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? So it's always an interesting experience. I've knock on wood, I've never had a negative one. And I just hope that that's something that continues.
That's really good. I love that. I'm gonna use that in the promo for this. Disarm with a smile.
It's true, man. They see this big black guy and they just think I'm scary. Like I know I must look scary when I'm just like in my just own space, own world. I'm not looking at you. I'm not doing anything. They must assume that well, he's mad or he's angry. And then I just give them this big smile and the whole aura of everything just changes. It's amazing what a smile can do in an awkward situation.
Yeah. I think you're so right. We could all learn something from you, Makesi. You know, oftentimes approaching something with a smile rather than a scowl can set up a conversation in a completely different way. And I think that's really words to live by, to be honest.
Definitely, man. I try to do it all the time. Walking through the supermarket, that's something I do. Smile, good morning. Just keep it moving. You never know.
Yeah. You never know. It's very true. So listen, I don't want to keep you all day. So I've got one more question that I'd love to cover with you, if that's all right.
Sure.
I'd love to know what's coming next for you. You mentioned, the SRAM Community Program. By the time this comes out, it will be common knowledge. Cycling Culture Club is also included in the SRAM Community Program. So I'm really hoping.
Congratulations, man.
And to you, and to everyone else who was brought on for the 2026 contingent. There's 42 communities around the world. So shout out to SRAM for doing some great work in this space and showing the cycling industry what can be done. But talk to me about how you'll work with your partners in the next years, how will you work with SRAM, what do you want to achieve, and, lay down a few light touch objectives for our audience so we can follow along for you.
So I'm taking a step back from like the traveling to a lot of places. I still have a few, but my main goal is to build cycling within New York City, within my community. Not to say that it's not already built, but to build out a community for people that are new to cycling. So I've been doing local coffee rides within my community with partnership with the health insurance company. So I have the health insurance company there signing people up for health insurance because that's something in this country that's not free. There's so many people walking around my neighborhood that don't have health insurance. So like that's a partnership that I'm very proud of, that we are able to set up that tent and we can just be like, hey, yes, we are cycling and we're promoting health, but step over to that tent really quick if you don't have insurance and see what you can do for yourself, because it's scary times out here to walk around with no health insurance. So that's one thing. With the SRAM Community Program, the goal is also always to give away bikes. Let's get more kids in my community on bikes. So that's all that goes to. It's like, yes, I can get some bikes donated, but there's some stuff that you just need to pay for. And that's so expensive. Like giving away bikes is the hardest thing I do because it's easy to say, but it's hard to get the actual bikes. So that's like the main goal. And then there's just like the continuation of working with my sponsors, doing those fun things like going to Cycle Jamaica, going back to Seattle to Portland, doing these hard, adventurous rides to show people like, hey, you can be this big black man. Nothing is out of reach. You can ride from Seattle to Portland, which is 210 miles. You can do that. If I can do it, you can do it. You can pack your bike up and fly to a different country and ride for 3 days. You can go to Majorca. It's not out of reach. Like these are all things that you can do, which is leaning into the anything's possible if you just shoot your shot. That's literally what I live by. Anything's possible if you shoot your shot. Creating my own tour, it's like that's something I would never have thought I would do 2 years ago. But seeing it come into fruition, building the routes, having the partnerships, having an actual website with people booking now, it's like you can do anything. So that's my message for 2026. You can do anything as long as you shoot your shot. And the worst the brand can say is no. The best thing they can say is yes. And the middle ground is, hey, let me put you in contact with this person and see what we can do. You never know.
You never know. Well, I guess from me and all the contributors and all your audience, I guess good luck for 2026.
Thank you, man.
As I say, you've got a track record of getting shit done, so I'm highly confident that you'll achieve everything that you want to. I guess as one last message to the audience, and a question that I ask everybody who sits here is, if you could do one thing to encourage somebody who's coming into cycling to not only come in but stay in, what would you do or say?
That's easy. Never compare yourself to the next cyclist. It's you versus you. Don't look at the way they climb. Don't look at how fast they are. Don't look at what kit, what bike, none of it. It's you versus you. If you did this 8-mile ride and it took you, speaking of myself, if your first ride was 8 miles and 800 feet and it took you an hour and a half to do, how long is it going to take you in 2 weeks? When you've gotten a little better at cycling, when you've learned your gears, when you've properly learned how to clip out. So it's you versus you. That's all it is. Never compare yourself to any other cyclist.
Thanks, Makesi. That's powerful.
No problem, man.
It's good. Thank you so much for joining today. I knew it would be somehow, but words of wisdom throughout, and definitely one of the creamiest voices I've ever heard on this podcast.
It's the early morning, man. It's 9 o'clock here. This is like the wake up voice.
It's good. It's good. I'd have you read all my audiobooks, put it that way. No, respect to you, man, and thank you so much for coming on. And Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Thank you, man. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Absolutely. We're going to date this podcast, but I think it's worth doing. And I hope you have a great restful time ahead of a busy year. And again, really appreciate you carving out the time on an early morning for me.
No problem, man.
Cool. Until next time.
Have a good one.
Thanks to all of you for listening. If you want to support what we do, would be appreciated, of course. You can subscribe to this podcast via whatever platform that you use. On YouTube, you can obviously subscribe to, like, comment, leave me feedback, let me know what you like, what you hate, what you'd like to see, who I should speak to. All of that is really, really welcome. And if you want something lighter touch, maybe you're not into podcasts, or maybe you haven't checked out our website yet, cyclingcultureclub.cc, then maybe you can buy one of our hats. Just a small token. All the profits go to supporting our initiatives. Really nice embroidered cotton caps for your everyday, and every piece of merch that we sell is a small part of how we fund what we do. So once again, I appreciate you. Good to see you all. Thanks again.